All right. So at this time, Councilmember Fredson has not joined us yet, but will be shortly. Sterner,
Here.
Councilmember Vento will be joining us, but has not yet. Wolf,
Here.
Councilmember Zarin will be joining us, but has not yet. And Lindstrom.
Here.
Thank you. That does constitute a quorum of this committee.
Very good. Then we can get started, and we will start with the reading of the chair's statement, which we typically do, which is the Metropolitan Council Chair has determined it is not practical or prudent to conduct in-person meetings in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Accordingly, committee members are participating in this meeting via telephone or other electronic means, and the meeting will be conducted under Minnesota statutes section 13D.021. We encourage anybody out there to keep monitoring us remotely and submit any comments you may have to public.info@metstate.mn.us. That's public.info@metstate.mn.us. And with that, if there's no objection, we can approve the agenda for today, where we have a few exciting items. But before we do that, we have the minutes from September 28th, 2021.
Wolf moves approval.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Roll call, please.
Thank you. I wanted to acknowledge Councilmember Zarin has joined us for the record. Fredson and Vento have not joined as of yet, but I will acknowledge that when they do. Sterner,
Here.
Susan Vento, you have joined us. We are doing roll call for the minutes. And do you approve the minutes?
And Councilmember Fredson's here too now.
Okay,
Susan.
I'll go back to the top. Councilmember Fredson, we are voting on them. We're approving minutes, so aye. Sterner was an aye. Vento?
Aye.
Thank you. Wolf?
Aye.
Zarin?
Aye.
And Lindstrom?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. On to the consent agenda, which is the City of Anoka's 2040 comp plan and comprehensive sewer plan. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Wolf
Zarin.
moves approval.
Zarin seconds.
Roll call, please.
Okay, so I had Wolf as a motion, Zarin as a second. Fredson?
Aye.
Sterner?
Aye.
Vento?
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye.
Zarin?
Aye.
And Lindstrom?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. On to our one and only item on the non-consent agenda, which is a few master contracts for project communications and public involvement to support our capital program. I believe Ms. Bessel has a presentation for us this afternoon. Anna, if you're out there, you may be on mute.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me?
Sure can.
Oh, thank you so much. Mr. Chair and committee members, thank you for having me here today. My name is Anna Bessel, and I'm the Assistant Manager of Wastewater Planning and Community Programs. I'm here today to present Business Item 2021-273 for master contracts for project communications and public involvement to support the MCES capital program. Next slide, please. First, I'd like to provide some background. MCES needs communication services to implement the authorized multi-year capital program for the MCES interceptor system and treatment plants. The total contract amount that we are seeking was based on a level of estimate by MCES wastewater planning and capital project delivery staff. Next slide, please. One of the main drivers behind the need for strong communications for the MCES capital program is our customer level of service. MCES provides wastewater services to 111 customer communities. Each community has its own viewpoint and preferences on how we provide service, and also how we communicate with its residents. This is reflected in our customer level of service and in our capital program, where we practice the following principles. First, to treat our customers and our stakeholders respectfully. Second, to leave the community with something better than they had prior to our project. Third, to plan and coordinate our project with other public infrastructure work. Fourth, to keep every promise made during planning, design, and construction. And finally, to communicate in a manner as consistent as possible with each community's protocol. Overall, MCES desires to offer a high level of transparency in our projects without placing a burden on the community while we're completing our work. Next slide, please. So you may recognize this as the Council's proposed 2022 unified budget that is planned for public comment this fall and for adoption by the Council in December. The proposed 2022 capital program reflects an increase in spending due to several important projects that we have planned, including 2 new wastewater treatment plants, one in Hastings and one in Rogers for our future Crow River plant. We also have the 4th incinerator at the Metro plant. We have lift station L32A in the city of Fridley. And finally, we have a variety of interceptor improvement projects to rehabilitate existing sewer lines and increase our capacity to serve growth. Because we have so many high-profile projects, it is extremely important that we communicate and collaborate with the communities where our projects are located. Next slide, please. So here I have a few examples of recent project communications that have been produced by consultants under our current communications master contracts. On the left, you can see we produce handouts that can be mailed or posted online. The handouts will typically have a project map, a description of the project, and provide other useful information regarding schedule and potential impacts to the area during construction. We also have project websites that interested residents can subscribe to receive updates as the project progresses. Many of our project sites have large signage that describes the project, but we also often use smaller signage to provide notice of potential impacts that residents may experience, such as reduced access. We've also created a variety of educational videos that are posted to our project web pages. These videos are used to explain the technology we are using to complete our construction work, and I've also included topics such as odor mitigation and what to expect during project restoration. Finally, we've stepped up our social media postings using Facebook, Twitter, Instagram to reach more residents during our projects. Next slide, please. During the pandemic, we really needed to switch gears in terms of how we engaged our stakeholders. Pre-pandemic, we often would hold in-person open houses for residents and stakeholders. We began offering outdoor neighborhood meetings where we could still answer questions about our projects or engage in conversations with stakeholders while still maintaining proper social distancing. We have also expanded our reach to a variety of audiences by offering translation information for our materials. We have also developed a system for holding thoughtful and visually appealing virtual information sessions, which are also recorded and posted to our project web pages after the event. Next slide, please. And now that I've given you a little view of what our communications look like, I'd like to get back to the master contracts. In June 2021, we went out for a formal solicitation and we received seven proposals on July 14th, 2021. Next slide, please. The proposals were evaluated by 3 MCES staff and 1 council communication staff. It was important to have a council communication staff participate on our panel because the work completed through these master contracts is done in collaboration with council communication staff to ensure we are consistent with council branding and standards and also in our messaging. The ratings of the proposals were based on the following criteria: quality of the proposal, qualifications of the proposer, experience, and price. Based on strengths and ability to provide communication needs to the MCES capital program, 5 master contracts are recommended in the following amounts: $500,000 to HDR, $500 to $500,000 to Zan Associates, $400,000 to Goff Public, $300,000 to WSB and Associates, and $300,000 to Bolton and Mank. Next slide, please. The Office of Equal Opportunity assigned a Metropolitan Council underutilized business goal of 10% for this locally funded procurement. Procurement staff reviewed the directory and contacted potential DBEs and MCUB vendors to make them aware of the solicitation. To be found responsive, a bidder must meet the DBE requirements of the contract, either by meeting the DBE goal or making a good faith effort to meet the goal. Next slide, please. Our proposed action is that the Metropolitan Council authorizes its regional administrator to award and execute Master Contracts 21P109 for communications and engagement related to MCES capital projects to HDR Inc., Zan Associates, Goff Public, WSB and Associates, and Bolton and Mank, totaling $2 million. Next slide, please. And this concludes my presentation, and I would like to invite any questions.
Thank you. Great presentation. Any questions for Ms. Bessel? I know I have come to appreciate the work of the communications in the various forums that I've been a part of when we do these public forums on the related to our big projects. Oftentimes there's well, first, I mean, just organizing the public forum is part of the role of these communications agencies. But I appreciate the ability to translate what can sometimes be complex scientific things, engineering things, or chemicals, what have you, into something that the general public can understand. And I appreciate that they do technical things like create videos with graphics that show how everything's flowing and how all the machinery is going to work and all that sort of thing too, which makes it easier to understand for people that learn by those means, like I do. So with those comments, if there's no other questions or comments, Councilmember Sterner.
Thank you, Chair. I just was going to ask, it kind of went through like 2022 was what we're looking at, and then it showed the years after that. So is this contract for all those years, or is it strictly for next year? I didn't quite, get that if it was a 2022 contract or for that full period of time.
No, Mr. Chair and members of the committee, yes, actually this contract will extend beyond 2022. I can tell you that we have had a few rounds of master contracts for communications, and what we've found is that it makes sense to structure them over a number of years because of the nature of our work. We do engage our consultants during the planning process, but as you can imagine, it takes some time to get us from planning to design through construction. And we typically like to stick with the same consultant throughout the project. So yes, it will extend beyond 2022.
And just a follow-up question, if I could too, please.
Please.
Are we looking at Metropolitan Council maybe trying to get the expertise with some communication and maybe retain some of that in-house a little bit? Like, so environmental service will have their technical communicator built into it. Is that ever in the works right now, or we're just kind of keeping it as outside vendors the way it is set up now?
Mr. Chair and members of the committee, yes, we do have a couple staff within MCES that are focused on communications and engagement. However, we do rely heavily on these consultants to help us out simply due to the fact that they have a breadth of expertise. They really know how to communicate the technical information to a variety of audiences, and they also really understand the public administration side of things. However, I will say we are always trying to help our staff become more comfortable with communications and how to formulate key messaging, how to identify stakeholders, and different ways of engaging those stakeholders. So, we do have a little bit of help in-house, and especially our RA communications team is there to support us as well. Like I said, not just with the branding and making sure we're consistent with our messaging, but we do rely on them as well for some of our communication needs.
Okay, thank you very much.
Other questions, or is there a motion?
Zirin moves approval.
Bento seconds.
Roll call, please.
Fredson,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Vento,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Zarin,
Aye.
and Lindstrom.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving right along. Lisa, good afternoon.
Short meeting today, even shorter than our previous short meetings.
Indeed.
So the year's winding down. November and December go really fast because sometimes we don't have 2 meetings in the month. But one of the things that comes to mind is how are we doing on our compliance for the year? Because it goes on a rolling 12-month calendar that the awards that we get and the PCA goes on a calendar year. So as of today, October 12th, we have 100% compliance at every single facility. So we are approaching the possibility that we might have perfect compliance for all facilities in 2021. And I think I said it last year, but I think it's true this year too, that amidst all the upsets and differences that we face with a pandemic situation, it's really outstanding that staff are doing so well, maintaining high performance through the thick and thin of things. So I'm grateful to staff as always, and especially appreciative that they're able to endure through this times that we're living through.
And there's a staff appreciation event coming up in a few weeks, if I recall correctly, that hopefully everybody gets that message loud and clear that they are very much appreciated.
That concludes my report for tonight.
All right, very good. Keeping it short and sweet. And that means we are adjourned. Have a great afternoon, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Aye.
you.
Good
Bye-bye.
meeting.